So the first question that we have is about including yourself. So working in a field dominated by women, how do you maintain authenticity to your womanhood or challenge any pressure to perform the work the way that men do? And just wondering if anyone would like to go first for this one. Janvi?
Hi. So I love this question because it's extremely relevant to flying and to aviation in general because we know how heavily it is masculine dominated. So ever since I've been in aviation, right from my training days, I realized that women tend to pick up masculine traits in order to be taken seriously. And this ranges from, not doing makeup or not doing your nails, or you probably don't want to do your hair up to in a pretty way, and it also leans towards aggressive body language, or you're not soft spoken. If you're soft spoken, you're not taken seriously. Or I mean, the way I've flown with so many captains where female captains, they tend to become like men the second you enter the cockpit into the aircraft. The way they deal with other ground staff and the way they deal with other, even with passengers, it's a very aggressive form of dealing with things. So initially when I was new, I thought that, okay, maybe this is the way to go, and maybe there's something wrong with me if I'm soft spoken, or if I do if I apply lipstick, or if I do makeup, I'm not going to be taken seriously. And I've been subjected to snarky comments where it's like, oh, she's not going to know what it's about. And you're what something was said to me about I'm forgetting this point. I'll probably remember in some other question. So it's things like this that makes me want to hold on to my authenticity, where over a period of time I've understood that it's my skill and it's my resilience that matters at work. It's if I apply a lipstick, it doesn't mean that I can't do my job well enough. Or if I paint my nails or do makeup, it doesn't mean anything. So initially people will look down upon you, but once you prove yourself where your work is concerned, then they'll keep quiet. So that for me has helped tremendously, and I haven't changed ever since. Thank you.
I think for me, one thing that I think does a slight twist is I'm the boss, and I get to make the hires, and I get to build the team, and I get to like set the tone because we are a group. And I think it really informs what I do, how I operate that. Like me being a woman changes what I see in the kitchen, and changes like who I hire, what I'm looking for, what sort of qualities I'm looking for, what sort of, especially in a place like Dubai, which is so diverse. So you have like all these different layers of different cultures that we come from as women. We all sort of have a slight twist on our family life and our partnership life and our relationship with our, if we have children, or if how we sort of, if we're ambitious, or et cetera. And so for me, I feel there's a community of us. There's a sort of little group. I think I actually came here through one of my other female friends in the F&B world, who's friends with Preeti, I think, right? And so we feel like we're a little pod, and we're always looking out for opportunities for each other, and we're always looking out for like referrals, and we're always looking out for ways to sort of pick those groups up. We have regular social engagements, and we have regular like networking, and if I get reached out to for like a press event, the top of my mind will be my other like female chef friends, even though there's not that many. And so I feel like I'm always sort of obviously it affects how I build my teams. I mean, I think women cooks are more even keeled in their emotional reactions, and don't tend to be nearly as angry, and don't tend to be nearly as sort of aggressive or inappropriate, as can often happen in professional kitchens with a bunch of guys when they're in charge. And so that's been definitely something that's really sort of helped inform like my overall approach.
January and Shah, like for me, I didn't have a distinct pressure that this in the entrepreneurship, like how male and female are different. But I had a personal inhibition about networking. So my biggest challenge was how to network over coffee and donuts. because that's the coffee is the only drink I can have. And how to do that? So I strategized in two ways, possibly like plan to attend quarterly, definitely one networking meeting, and the other way is establishing a brand identity of Devi, like so being LinkedIn, social, Instagram or Facebook. So I'm in touch with all my bosses, like they cheer for us, they for Nurture You Technologies. And in Facebook, my distant cousin aunt knows that we completed 2 years and wishes me whenever I go for a family function. And my daughter's friends know that I'm attending some event through the Instagram. So the social media, like sitting in corner of my work from home office, I'm able to network with people across generations around the world. And the meetings are able to meet the strangers. And this for me, like helped to strategize that inhibition that I had, Priyanka, the challenge.
So it was lovely hearing from all three of you, really interesting perspectives. I think for me, I was lucky enough to be in an all-women's school and then an all-women's college. So I grew up looking at women being in a lot of leadership positions. I come from a family of very strong women. So it was not until I was, I want to say 22, 23 and out in the real world that I first realized that, hey, it's actually not women, but men who run the world. And for a long time, I feel like women lead a certain way and men lead a certain way. And for a long time, I think, and our company is founded by two, like it's three of us women, and then we have a team of like 60, 70 men. And I think for a long time, we actually believed that, we were leading in a wrong way or we were doing something that was different. But I think over time now, we've realized that, hey, like we actually, as women, lead better and we have different leadership styles and it it doesn't have to be a certain way. And I think that has been extremely empowering. And I think whenever we feel like, like you're always told that, you have to be a certain way. And there's a lot of external feedback because we work with the government, we work with people or investors, donors, a lot of whom are men. And we're often told to be a certain way. But I think we've finally now feel empowered enough to push back and feel confident in our leadership style and actually think it's worked out better for us as an organization as well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. There was so much in there from each of you that was really unique in terms of your context. John, I really loved what you spoke about just, not having to equate our physical appearance with our capabilities. I really appreciated that. Shaw as well, like demonstrating leadership in a different way, and that like there's so much power in the choices that you have, and yeah, that recognizing that power may be something that might be new to some of us, but that we still have that. Davey, it was really great to hear about the space that you have created and the kinds of ways in which you are leading your work in that field. I think there's a lot in there about, just demonstrating to your team on how to kind of lift each other up. And Kritika, I just really appreciate that you were sharing on how working in solidarity with each other to maintain your approach is really important. Okay, moving into the second question, which is about inclusion of emotion intelligence. So women are conditioned to be more emotionally expressive, but often people do not see the value of creating space for emotional intelligence in workplaces, and particularly in fields dominated by men. So how do you use the gifts of emotional intelligence to strengthen your field? And then just because we'll offset, Shaw, if you're okay with going first on this one. And something I forgot to say earlier is feel free to pass if you feel like you don't have anything more to add to the question or anything like that.
I'll speak specifically about sort of my field and my experience with that. It's interesting, like in the kitchen, emotional intelligence is actually one of the most important skills that we have, because the other sort of task of cooking or sauteing or frying an egg or something can be taught. But how you sit with your team for 12, 14, 16 hours a day, under stress, under pressure, under challenging situations, you know, your knees hurt, your ankles hurt, et cetera, actually says a lot about your character, and actually will take you much farther in a kitchen environment. Being sensitive to your surroundings, rising up as a natural leader, being empathetic, you're able to really sort of create that team space. The ones that don't have that sort of level of emotional intelligence, sort of self-awareness, are not going to sort of get where they want to go, because people aren't going to want to follow them naturally. And I think people really sort of fall into that space, especially in the kitchen. The leaders very quickly emerge, because they're the ones that people gravitate towards, that they trust, that they will follow, that, you know, you don't have to force them to follow. And so I think, again, women's ability to express empathy, women's ability to, you know, be kind. You know, I busted my knee out today and it really hurts. Okay, go sit down, ice it down, take care of yourself, versus pushing through or being not as open to people's personal situations. I think, again, there's just such a distinctive, I think, advantage to our approach to those spaces. In my specific field, I think, you know, we tend to be able to express that, and, you know, earn people's respect in a much higher way.
Thank you, Usha, for that. For me, like I'm someone who like to compete. So it's like, be it a small class test or a friendly Kahoot, I want to win. A decade ago, I saw a beautiful video where a group of children are planning for a race, and they all started, and one of them was not able to cope up due to some physical challenges. And all these kids who are progressing came back and went along with the kid and finished the race. As I'm speaking to you, also, I get goosebumps. So that is Ubuntu philosophy, something like, I am because we are. That enlightened me that we all can together win. So, like, for me, out there are a lot of competitors. So there's a market share. But I strongly believe in the abundance, that what's mine will come to me, and what's there is going to them. Like, because they are succeeding, it's not that I'm not going to succeed. He can succeed, she can succeed, I'll also succeed. Everyone will be able to do that. It's, instead of competition, it's a co-optation. So I have a team of 20. No, in a day, if I get 10 calls, we are choked. Same is for the others also, right? Like, they might have a big team, but they also get, there's a limit, and it has to flow. So for me, the emotional intelligence is about, I am because we are. And in fact, in other way, like, say, it's my team that makes Nurture You Technologies. So again, I am because we all are there.
Okay. So yeah, I think a lot of the things that I wanted to say, Devi and Shaw actually covered really well. But I think emotional intelligence is so important when doing anything that involves a team of people working together. The work that we do is, we're working with thousands of farmers, often in very remote areas. Our teams have to go, deep inside forests. They sometimes encounter wild animals. They encounter snakes, a lot of other dangerous things as a part of their work. And I think having, as co-founders who are leading the organization, having emotional intelligence has really, I think, allowed us to focus on a culture of cooperation. And I think both Devi and Shaw referred to that, right? Because the situations are often tense. We're trying to get the maximum impact out of our work. So having a culture of cooperation, collaboration over competition. And I think often as women, we're also very happy to put the other in the spotlight, and not sort of, as sometimes happens in companies, etc., take a lot of credit for yourself, and feel threatened if your other partner is getting more credit, etc. So I think, like, all of us having that emotional intelligence has really contributed to creating a culture where we value the company over the individual.
So this was probably my favorite question of all the questions, and that we were asked to prepare. And I'm just going to give a very small background. So very often till date, I keep hearing, the minute someone hears that, oh, you're a pilot, one of the first thing that pops up into their mind is, oh, you get a hefty salary, or you get a good salary. And it's a very common thing. You face it everywhere. But we don't really stop and wonder as to why are we paid so much. We're paid so much because we have an aircraft which is worth millions of dollars, which is in our hands to operate. And more importantly, we have the lives of more than 200-300 passengers. Any mistake we commit, it affects them immediately. So it's a very unforgiving job because your room for error is zero. You can't mess up. So now coming to the point of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not just expressing yourself well, but it's also understanding the state of the people around you. So for example, when we fly with other captains, other pilots, when you meet them in the office, where we do our paperwork, it's very easy if you can develop that emotional intelligence to gauge what kind of a mood that person is in on that day. Because then you know what your flight is going to be like. Then you know how the rest of how his or her behavior is going to be with the rest of the crew. Because we're dealing with passengers, we're dealing with ground staff, we're dealing with engineers. So maintaining a level of steadiness within, but also being able to gauge what the other person is feeling. And it's happened a few times when I've, taken an indirect approach where I've been like, do you want to eat something? Is something bothering you? Do you want to talk about something? So it helps a lot because the common goal at the end of the day is safe operation of that flight. So in order for that, being in a state of a certain level of steadiness where emotional intelligence is concerned is extremely important. So that's how I feel the gifts of emotional intelligence can also be used, not just to express, but to also understand others around you.
Thank you everyone so much. I definitely missed the order and went to question 3. I'm sorry about that. That was my fault. I really love how all the responses kind of tied in together in different ways. I think all of you talked about embodied practice and just how much work has been associated with intellect and the mind, and how that impacts us if we don't make space for taking care of our bodies, and especially as women. I think inherently in that is also like a culture of slowing down, which is very hard in, I think, a lot of these kinds of fields for sure, but just recognizing the impacts that can have on our physical experience. So I think, going back to some of the pieces that came up, not just having kindness for others, but also for ourselves and each other. And yeah, just like this focus on the culture of like collaboration and cooperation, and like process over outcome is really, really valuable things to think about. Thank you.